Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
My thing is running slow today. I see it like just spinning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, children of all ages. Yesterday was a holiday in Canada, and I completely forgot to put on my turkey onesie to wish everybody in Canada a happy Thanksgiving. So thank you, Canada. Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I wanted to reach out to everybody today and say good morning. And Ilse, how are you doing this morning?
I am bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I've been the whole day. I packed away my washing, cleaned my house. So we're moving Stone Daisy's episode 2 tonight. So I've been quite busy the whole day.
That's awesome.
Good. I've accomplished a lot. My whole cupboard is so neat. I can actually find stuff.
Tumultuous Tuesdays. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Stuart. Good morning, Brian Tracy. Thank you guys for
Dave.
Do not forget to give us a like, a comment, a share if you have a friend, a family member, somebody who maybe is just going through life that could use a little pick-me-up. You know what? We're here to give them a shot of Java with a dose of delight. And we want to make sure we bring the smiles, the joy, and everything we can to everybody's morning. It is Tuesday here in the U.S. It's almost Wednesday there in South Africa for Ilse. And she's been busy today. Ilse, what did you dive into today? What did you get going?
Well, yesterday I washed all the washing, and today I packed my cupboard and put all the clean washing in my cupboard. Why that onesie? I ain't Thanksgiving, God bless. What's your side dishes for today, Mr. Turkey?
It's Thanksgiving in Canada. So, and actually, I think this button's here. Yeah. Oh, no.
Can I just say I love that onesie?
Thank you. I try. It's Thanksgiving in Canada. So personally, I wanted to say happy Thanksgiving. I joined a different podcast earlier this morning to do yoga, and everybody in there was Canadian but me. So what did I do? I threw on, and they were all like, "Oh, happy Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving." And I'm sitting here going, what the hell are they talking about? Why are they wishing each other happy Thanksgiving? And then
next month.
Right. I'm like, so I decided to throw it on and wish them all a happy Thanksgiving and then get ready to join you guys. I will be changing during the show. Don't you see, this is supposed to stick because then I have a gobbler. I'm like, so like, yeah, they don't eat moose for Thanksgiving in Canada, eh? Yeah, and I'm close enough to Canada that if I decided to jump on a boat and ride for 4 hours, maybe more, I'd be in Canada. So that's why I decided I'm that close. I could see it on a boat halfway through Lake Erie.
Hey, Sherry.
Hello, Sherry. So tell us what you got into this morning, and I'm going to pull myself off screen because I am sweating in this, but I really want everybody to have a great one and happy Thanksgiving. Brett, you're replacing me to talk to Ilse for 1 minute.
Good morning, Ilse.
I'm good. How are you?
I am awesome. As you can see in my background, I'm back in Vegas in my home office here. Probably be here for another 10, 11 days, and then probably heading back up to South Dakota.
The big move. Is that the big move then?
No, big move. The final move probably won't be until the end of November, but spent a bit of time last night kind of doing some things around the house here to start to prep for moving out of where I'm at here to consolidate everything in my house before my big move to South Dakota.
And are you excited?
I am extremely excited. We have found a hotel that we're trying to buy. And if we can buy that hotel, there's going to be living spaces in the hotel, which will become probably the long-term place to live, at least for a while, as we're bringing the hotel back online in a different look and feel than it currently is.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, when you have no money, the best thing to do is find something that costs a shitload of money to buy and then try to figure out how to get the funding. And that's essentially what we're doing.
Fun and games. That's how we all do it.
Exactly.
I was actually thinking about it this morning. It's like, what is the quickest way to get to your manifestations? It's to sell your shit and let everything go like it's already become true. So that's what I thought. I've sold everything. I am ready to just get onto a plane and go. There's nothing holding me back.
Well, that's exactly right. It's really, we do a lot of work also with intention. So if your intention is to do good, if your intention is to have good things happen, the chances of good things happening are significantly increased. I would say, in the terms of 100-fold better chance of things happening if your intention is good and you set that intention. So that is essentially what we've been doing while I'm up in South Dakota. I was originally looking at a different property, which would have taken 2 to 3 years in order to develop into something that would ever be functional for what I have envisioned for a leadership retreat and things like that. And then as I'm there last week, this hotel comes up for sale that's going to go to auction, not because of any other reason than they just want to sell fast. So it is something that was a location I thought would be ideal to start off a leadership program and have a restaurant and have a bar and have a retail space and have a spa all in the same building, and it's there.
And it's much better than what you guys were looking for what you guys had in mind. That is everything already done.
Yeah, all that stuff is done, but there's a limited number of hotel rooms. There's only 10 hotel rooms in this building. It's an old building from the 1890s was when it was originally constructed. But eventually I want to grow into the bigger picture that I had that I was there for when I first went there. And that is to have a much bigger location with a lot more hotel rooms so that when you bring in a leadership group of 20 or 30 people, they all stay in the same building. So that's what's been exciting for me for the past week and what I'm working on even while I'm here.
Yeah. So, Brett, you've been busy and you've been running around a lot, but I want to jump back on something that you and I were talking about backstage, that you wanted to talk about Indigenous People Day. And I specifically said, I hate my camera today. I didn't even touch anything. You saw my hands were in the air. But so you wanted to talk about Indigenous People Day and what it meant and why history is not always correct. And sometimes we have to understand that there are differences in being open to others' opinions. The leadership style in that is an interesting one. And I thought that was interesting that from your perspective of wanting to share that with us. So can you dive into that a little bit? Because we didn't touch on yesterday being Columbus Indigenous Day.
Right. Well, Columbus Day is one of those things where history was written in a particular way with a particular bias. And it's what is taught as the narrative in our school system. it is not the reality of the history of itself. It's again, a biased view of what was happening in terms of, Christopher Columbus discovering America in 1492 and all that kind of stuff. And from there have come a lot of stories that were biased in the way that they were presented. It was not, the Pocahontas was not one of those stories that was truly a love story. It was actually one of an indigenous girl that was basically taken from her indigenous family and kind of forced into these different scenarios. So, what we teach in school influences how we grow up to believe certain things. And so when we talk about Indigenous Peoples Day, that is kind of changing the focus to something that's more directed in reality of history as opposed to created history, which has biases. And I'm not going to say that what things are said are always true, even when you start talking about Indigenous, because there's always interpretations. But in South Dakota in particular, South Dakota changed Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day 30 years ago. One of the first places that actually did that. And I think that that's pretty amazing that, there are states there that kind of led the way to this changing of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, which actually was written into our national holidays by Biden this year.
And I think, look, here's the thing on this. It's whether you're one way or another, and you're just not like, you believe one thing over another and all that. It's not meant to be a conflict. It's meant to be something where everybody's able to find what they believe in and give them the proper platform to stand on. And that way they have a day, because it's not like, I don't have a problem with Indigenous People Day. I think it's a thing that people want to hear about more and more and are wanting to understand our history. And I think it's becoming something where a lot of people have gotten, it's almost aggravated, annoyed, and upset people compared to it being something that it's open to. And that's not what it's supposed to be about. So for me, it's just about being able to be out there, having a conversation with people and being open to others' perspectives.
Right, and to recognize not only that it's others' perspectives, but the fact that the way history is written, the way books have been written that have become taught in school as the God's honest truth aren't.
Yes, that's a great point. Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No. So, it's really one of those things where we need to become more aware of what we're being taught. Recognize that there's a certain narrative that have been brought into the school systems and basically indoctrinating our beliefs and indoctrinating the beliefs of our children in ways that are not clear, are not true in a lot of cases.
I can understand that. And that's something that it's interesting to me, because yesterday, without going political, without doing anything like that, I just wanted to be able to have an open leadership conversation about this. Even if you disagree with us, please don't feel we're saying anything's wrong with anybody. We are just saying that this is something that, since it's coming about, since they're making laws about this and giving national holidays, it's just a good thing to have this conversation and explain the different sides. Did you know that on Columbus Day, they actually released an article? They found that 500 years before Columbus actually found America, that the Italians actually found America, it was on a map. They had it drawn in a map.
Wow, I did not know that.
Did you know that the Vikings, speaking of Lena being here and watching the show, the Vikings actually were probably one of the first people to actually discover the Americas.
Correct. And there's evidence to see that and tracks back to that. And we don't have I can't think of a good Viking name, but we don't have a Viking holiday that we go like, oh, it's Roar Day or anything like that. So I couldn't think of anything else. But like, it's important to just be understanding. Like I listen to I see how Christmas is so commercialized, but yet at the same time, there's Hanukkah, and we don't talk about Hanukkah the same way. And at the same time, there's Yom Kippur, and all that. And there's all these other holidays. That's actually later in the year, sorry. But they have all these different holidays, and you hear about them if you're in that circle, but we don't explain them to what they could really be. So, Ilse, give us a holiday in South Africa that you guys probably celebrate that we wouldn't know about. National Naked People Day.
We can work on that one. We don't have one, but we can always work on that one. I mean, extra public holiday, we don't care what they name it, as long as we don't have to go to work. So we've got Heritage Day, which was now on the 24th of what do you call it? September. Yeah, September.
Sorry.
Well,
I was trying to make sure the show was actually going, and then it was loud.
Our Heritage Day is also embracing the heritage in South Africa, because there are so many cultures in South Africa. I mean, and with the apartheid in the past and everything, that's also been a big thing. So it's National Heritage Day, where everybody in South Africa just embrace their heritage. If it's a European heritage, if it's an African heritage, whatever, everybody just embrace that. And I think that's very important, that we should just know that everybody on earth is welcome on earth. You should just embrace everybody's cultures and everything. But the problem is history and the way it's written. So I do agree with Brett. They don't show all the history, and history changes from the perspective of the person that is writing it down, and their own opinion and, let's say, experience with what happened to them.
I agree. It's usually the winners that get to decide history.
Exactly.
Correct.
True. And there's always different
The fact that I got both of you to agree means I got it right.
there's so many. No, I can't remember where I was going.
That's okay.
It's okay. Squirrel, Lincoln.
Yeah, it's the winners or he who has the money and power.
And that's the thing. And I think this is phenomenally said, because I call a lot of holidays Hallmark holidays. I'm not a fan of Valentine's Day because of the fact it's so overhyped, and it's buy this, buy that, buy this. Do I want to love somebody?
Either love me you either love
Mother's Day, Father's Day, Girlfriend's Day, Boyfriend's Day, Child's Day. All of these are Hallmark holidays that were created to sell cards.
And the only thing that I really want is National Ice Cream, buy your son ice cream day, buy Brandon ice cream day.
Money.
Give your daughter money day, give your son
money. There is a day like that somewhere in October.
I tried telling my niece it's give your uncle money day. She told me that's not right. I don't know why. But like, yeah, I send me all the flowers. All right, Jeannie, what is your favorite flower? Let's play that game. Since you want all the flowers, what is your favorite flower? Really?
I love the lotus flower.
I not surprised, but kind of surprised. Mine, if I had to pick a flower, I honestly love the lily. Just being honest, like I love it. Yes, stargazer lilies are beautiful. I love the lily flower.
I've never had a favorite flower, because I like all flowers. It's from nature. What it shows is just how beautiful Earth can be. So I like all flowers. But I was watching that Feedful on Netflix, where he goes around and he goes to the different places and they cook for him, and he explores. And he was with a family somewhere in China, and they were actually picking lotus flowers from the is it like a dam or something? And then they pick it off and eat something from the lotus flower. But then I saw how pretty that was and how beautiful it was. So I decided, and I went like, that's my favorite flower. I like that.
I like that. Mandy Atterbury says Valentine's Day has been around since the Roman times. She's 100% correct. My only thing is it's become so commercialized that we've lost touch with the love that's behind it. I personally am someone that if I'm dating somebody or anything, they like flowers. I want to know what their favorite flower is to get them, and I don't need a day to do that. And I think that Valentine's Day has become such a commercial holiday that we've missed out on the fact that, like, I buy my niece buys cards for everybody in her class, and that's so everybody's included. And I think that's great, but like, do they need to be learning about Valentine's Day in school and shooting arrows and all that stuff? No.
Isn't there a story behind that as well?
Yeah, and it's not good.
Yes, there's some underlining bad story that I've heard. I don't know the facts or how, but don't give flowers, give a flowering plant. That's what I like. Flowers die, and I've only gotten flowers I've only gotten flowers once, and that's when I threatened to leave my husband, and I told him, and we were together for how long? Because I told him from the beginning, I do not like flowers. Flowers die, and people buy flowers if they did something wrong. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I mistreated you. Here's some flowers. Maybe it will make you feel better. So I've never been a flower person, but I like the pot plant idea. That I like.
Jeannie, we are not trying to upset you. Watch this. I'm going to read this how this reads in my head, okay? Can't it be both? If it's important, your partner just sends the stupid flowers. Like, Jeannie, no, this is Java Delight. Woo! And I agree with you, Jeannie. Like, you need to know your partner. Like, if I was with Jeannie, I know not to ever send her a planted flower. I got it. It will die, and I'll feel awful. Perfect.
Jeannie, we are all supposed to die, so don't feel awful when the plant dies.
See, but I like what she said earlier. Jeannie made the comment about how the lily, when it blooms, the anticipation of that is so beautiful, and it really is. Like, right when that one goes, whoop, it's like so pretty. There's multiple kinds. I like buying like a bouquet of like a dozen lilies. And if you truly love someone, every day is Valentine's Day. Facts, Stuart. Facts. Like, even the audience is saying facts. Like, Mandy's like, boom. And it's one of those things that the plant dies a little too soon, just like my self-respect. Jeannie!
Don't worry, I'm also not one of those people that can keep plants alive, but I can at least keep children alive, so I'm not worried about plants at this stage. See, the children are still alive.
This is my favorite. Jaybird chimes in and he's like, I got the answer to all of this. Just send the seeds with the potting soil. Got nothing to worry about then. They grow their own flowers.
If they bloom. If not, well, not they.
Has anybody ever seen the flower gift of you buy a dozen roses, but you take one out, pluck it, leave it all over the bed, and then you have a fake rose right in the middle, and then you write the note, I'll love you until the last one dies. Well, the last one's never going to die because it's fake. Just like that love.
Wow.
That's so cute.
Jeannie's cracking me up today. I'm actually surprised the children survived.
Even me. I'm on the same. I'm like, gee whiz, I'm kind of okay with this.
Like,
I feed them and love them. It's not that difficult.
I've had relationships
where they play with sharp objects.
Yeah, but I've had relationships where girls are like, don't buy me flowers. Do anything else, just don't get me flowers. And I there's people that are like that. And then there's people like Brett who don't even want to admit they have a favorite flower.
Do you know what I like? Give me experiences. I'm not too keen on gifts because once I leave somewhere or it can break or it can get lost. But if you give someone an experience as a birthday gift, like take them somewhere that they've never been or spend time with them, that's more important than any gift in any case.
Yes. Actually, this is a great point by Brett's cousin, Lena. Brett, do you want to read this one? No.
You can just say no. No need to slam the door.
He left the whole show.
Personally, I do not like Mother's Day or Father's Day. There are many children who have lost parents and then sit in school and make cards for these days. Get sad just thinking about the pain they have to go through. I love wildflowers. I agree with her there. I don't think people see it like that.
And I think that's a phenomenal way of saying it. Like, there's so many things. Brett ran off. I ran Brett off. Jeannie, why are you scaring our co-host? Like, you didn't need to scare him. Like, oh, poor Brett. He's probably at home crying right now. That's a solid financial plan.
Scott left us a message. He says, driving a new car is an experience. And that is, I'll never say no to a new car as a birthday gift. Don't get me wrong. I like nice things. But yes, my life does not depend on it. But
and then Stuart Lone Wolf. Jaybird says silk flowers don't lie, but you still need to dust them. Do you guys want to?
I've got a bad experience with silk flowers. I do not like them. When I see them, I think of my mother-in-law. Her whole house is full of these stupid flowers. Everything has these fake ass flowers, just like them. Oh, these fake ass flowers. Please just edit that part where I said that. I do not like fake flowers or fake people. I'm sorry.
And then Jeannie, see, we can't get her for anything today. We keep trying to make her smile. We offered to give her a car. We were Oprahing. We're like, you get a car. You get a car. You get a car. I got Brett frozen in the back. You guys.
But I feel Jeannie, because her next message is, I would burn anything reminds me of my mother-in-law, and I feel the same. I feel this. I feel it. I feel you. I feel you.
I love that, because that was part of our conversation yesterday of mother-in-laws. All right, let's have some fun with that. Since we could tap into that, Brett's disappeared on us. Like, he's in the background, but he's frozen, and I wish I could show you guys how he's frozen, because he's like,
oh, he's gone again.
Yeah. My wife gets roses every anniversary made from the material the year traditionally signifies: paper, silk, leather, wood, etc. Stuart Lone Wolf, you are a romantic. Like, that is beautiful, my friend. I love that. That like touched my heart. Like, I read that and was like, that's so. You don't hear of people doing that. But like, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, there's these connections, this miss and stuff like that. I don't know why, but like, my ex-mother-in-law despised me, and she loved me the first 5 years. But she would buy things and be like, I thought of you, and would like mail me presents. And then all of a sudden, one day, I don't know what I did. It's probably Easter, now that I think about it. So I played a prank on everybody. We were playing a game. You had hard-boiled eggs and non-hard-boiled eggs, but you don't know which is which. And you pick it up and you toss it to your partner. And you just hope that they could catch it. And if it breaks, it breaks. If it doesn't break, so be it. Needless to say, I might have hit my mother-in-law with one that wasn't hard-boiled. So I think from then on is when she despised me, and it was all because of the egg. So it answers the question: what came first, the chicken or the egg? Apparently, the egg came. I pissed off the chicken.
My mother-in-law hated me from the day she saw me, but she hid it very well for very, very long. But before I even got married, she told me that that hell is gonna come and fetch me. And I don't know what else. I was the worst thing that the dog ever dragged into her house. Believe me, she hates no one more than me. And then my daughter looks exactly like me. I mean, revenge is fucking sweet. I'm using my F word. Because every time, she loves my daughter to bits. And I know she does. But when they look at her, they see my face. So they'll never get rid of me. And she's got the same personality. So how's that for revenge?
Yeah, it works. Scott wrote in the chat, hey, cut flowers beautify a room. They aren't some big commitment. They're easy. They make most people smile. They also provide jobs. A whole industry is based upon sending temporary cut flowers. I think that's beautifully said.
That is
beautifully said.
I don't think you always look at things like that. Because you always most of the time with your experience, you add a negative connotation to it. So my experience with people giving me money, that's always a good thing. My experience with people giving me flowers, it's been a negative thing always. So it's not something I've never had that just for pretty sake things. So I think that's why I feel about flowers like that.
And the funny thing is, I think, so this made me laugh hysterically because I thought of my mother-in-law after she hated me. Before she hated me, I would get really cool presents, and she would always have an excuse that she spent the most money on me and would love to brag about it. After that, I would get something that was a very obvious regift. It was like salt and pepper shakers with like chickens on them. It would be like the most random thing in the world, and I'm like, thank you and stuff. So my mother-in-law would always get me random gifts too. First time I met my mother-in-law was at her father's funeral. Tough day. That's a rough one. That's a rough one. So I just think this is a great conversation for so many different reasons. It leads us to the conversation. Ilse, that sounds horrible. I send flowers. I send my wife flowers frequently, even for no particular reason, says Scott.
But that's consistency. So
of course she
the whole time.
Thanks, Scott. He's like, of course she hates you, Brandon. I mean, I get it.
You know what? The feeling is not mutual because I feel hate is an energy, and I do not have energy to put in their way. I put all my energy into my own things, but I know she doesn't like me. I'm not her favorite person.
Honestly, yours is different because you have kids. But you have kids though, so she has to see it and has to. No,
she doesn't. She only sees me when it's really, really necessary. I saw her about 2 weeks ago for the first time in 3 years because I just don't go there or talk to them or nothing. I do not mix with them. When I decided to leave, I said all the toxic shit can go, everything.
I get that. You create boundaries. Go ahead, Brett. Now that you have internet connection again.
No, it was my computer. I don't know what the story was, but anyhow, I see how bastardized Valentine's Day becomes and things like that. One Valentine's Day when I was a kid, I didn't give my mother a card or a present, and she got so upset she didn't talk to me for like 4 days. And I'm like, this is the kind of BS that gets associated with certain things where people believe that their identity is essentially attacked if you don't recognize them on a specific day, as opposed to recognize them for 365 days. If you don't recognize them on that specific day, it's like, you don't care about me. You don't love me. You don't remember me. You don't. And to me, that's crap. And, others may look at it and say, well, if it really did mean something to you, then you would always remember those days. And I
you
think
you shouldn't base the way you treat someone or that on what they can give you or what they buy you. When someone gives you something because it made you think of them, then it's a different story. But it shouldn't only depend on that.
I love Stuart's comment here. I don't waste energy hating people. It's easier and more productive to blink them out of existence if there is no other options. Yeah, Kevin says he'll just make them jewelry and give them that as a gift. And I think that's awesome.
That is awesome.
I say go to delightcafe.com and sign up for the monthly membership for them and get them CBD, because apparently they are cranky as hell, and finding their calm, balance, and delight in life is essential again.
Exactly. And you're looking after their health. They can use it.
Yes.
I agree. Instead of giving people all these different kinds of flowers, why not just give them hemp flowers?
That is not a bad idea. I like that idea.
I actually... That's one that you can put in a plant and let the person grow. I'm just going to set that there. How's that?
Genie, those ones don't die. They weeds.
They keep growing.
Everywhere, so we're safe with them.
Nope. They keep growing, and you'll be able to keep bringing it back. It's the gift that never ends, So Brett actually had a good conversation piece that Ilse didn't know. And it's interesting because there's the reports in the news that are coming out of we're not going to go deep into sports. Don't worry. I know our audience does not like sports, but like there was a coach that was a big name head coach who recently resigned yesterday out of kind of left field. And it wasn't the coach that we thought was going to resign. So John Gruden, the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, had resigned after reports came out of racism in emails from, I think it was 10 years ago or more. And that was what came out. Now, I want to specify, I have not seen these emails. I do not know what was entitled in these emails, but I do know that it was enough that it made him have to resign from his job. So that's a very interesting thing because this is something that happened in the past. And it's like when I was when I was in my 20s, I did things wrong. What if something like that comes up now? Does that mean I have to drop my show and all that? That's where my mind went. Like, it's been over 10 years. It's been past those things. I guess it depends on the circumstances, but I haven't seen the emails. And if it was that drastic that he was using inappropriate language, inappropriate terms, and things that we know you shouldn't be saying, I'm fine with him having to resign. But if it's not that, and it's just something of people being a little extra from something that was in the past, I just wish I knew more about the situation. And Brett wanted to dive into this a little bit today.
Okay, but then I want to ask, same with you, if he did that 10 years ago and that's not how he is today, are they not going to maybe give him a chance to explain himself? Or did he maybe just leave because he said, you know what, I'm not in the mood for your crap. I know I'm not like that. So if that is where you want to go and you don't want to stand behind me, then I'm not even going to waste my time.
That's a good thing. Brett, dive in, buddy.
Yeah, I was trying to get a little bit more information on it as I saw that happened, and I didn't realize it until this morning that he did. There's something that indicates there's some history when he was with ESPN as an announcer, and that there were, it was over a period. The specific one that kind of is being talked about, I think, is from like 2010 or something like that. But supposedly there's some other comments that were made, not necessarily about blacks, but about sexual preference, calling somebody queer or something like that, or why would you hire somebody that's queer, that type of thing. Wow. And I think that so we don't know all the story, and we don't know if this is something that was said in anger, which oftentimes we say things in anger that, if taken as a trend or as your belief, as opposed to on a specific thing, you may run into some challenges. Not that not to say that that's okay, but I think that, oftentimes we say things when we're in an argument with even those that we love, that we say things that are bad and not necessarily indicate that we believe that way over the course of time. Brandon.
I think it's an example of leadership, though, because personally, it's even if he was in a place of anger. First off, I agree with Scott. His comment in our private chat in the background is nobody knows what's completely in all the emails because it's really none of our business. And the only people who are sensitive about these kinds of things have never been in a locker room. And I agree with that. Because in a locker room, like, the conversation completely is different. There is a lot of things that happen. Men in particular curse each other constantly and routinely, and they call each other things. I agree 100% with what Scott's saying, but I think it shows us leadership because he is the head coach, and even in 2010, he was a head coach of a college football program. And back then, you're putting that in writing. You're putting that down and sending it. So that's where there's the disconnect. In the locker room, calling each other these things and like snapping each other with the towel and making comments that you wouldn't make on camera. That's something guys do. That's something women do when men aren't around too. They talk about things that men don't even realize. Women are way more perverted than men. When I go into like girls' night and people are like, oh, Brandon could come, he's just gonna be fun and he'll just dance with us and blah blah blah. God, women are 10 times worse than men sometimes. They start talking and I'm like, oh my God, like don't ever write a woman's conversation down in a girl chat because all of a sudden that'll get all of them fired in the future. But like,
Stop giving our secrets away here.
Oh, I'm sorry. So the thing is, it's his leadership did not show. Whether he wrote something inappropriate or not, whether it's homophobic, racist, or anything, he's in that leadership position. And in the locker room is one thing I understand, but in the email format back and forth between people, he's just putting himself out there to completely be able to be thrown under a bus later.
Well, and I think that, you also have to look at why is it that something that was written 10 years ago is now coming out into public that was written in private between two people.
Correct.
So you got to look at what is the intent of some of this stuff that is coming out. And I agree 100%. I think people are absolutely ignorant. And when I say ignorant, meaning they do not understand what is going on when they write something, whether it be in a text, whether it be in an email, whether it be online. As is becoming more and more apparent, even if you write something online and then delete it, it's still there.
Yes.
So,
but it's 10 years ago. So, do you think that quitting was or resigning was the thing to do? I mean, if it's 10 years ago, you can take accountability. Say, listen, yeah, that's 10 years ago. I was not one of the brightest people. I made a mistake, but I have changed, and the people around me know that is not how I am, so I do not have to resign.
And actually,
as we said, we all say things that we're not supposed to.
I hold on. I want to jump on this really quick because Scott made a good comment in the back that it's probably just an excuse because he's been losing. And honestly, that could be plausible for it too, because their owner is known for being a little bit more of a demanding of winning, and that's what he wants. And that's what football is. But I have to jump on what Ilse is saying and twist it a little bit because she's making a good point. Like, okay, it's from the past. If he's changed, we have to accept people have changed. The thing is when you're at that level, and you're the head coach at a level that high, and you've been a head coach for like some of the biggest colleges in the world to some of the biggest football programs in the world, you're held to a higher standard. And so whether the email's one-on-one and just bantering and he kept the locker room talk going or not, he should have known better for himself. Like, if Brett, all of a sudden we get emails, hey, did you, perfect example. We had a guy on that we had an interview with a few months ago. And just this weekend, on Sunday, I received not only an email, but a post on our YouTube network that doctor had been arrested for malpractice, and he went to jail, and I had to Google it and look it all up because of 2 people died from his malpractice. Now, my side is, holy shit, do I leave this up here? Do I leave this interview up here? Or do I pull this because of the fact of what's gone on? I chose to pull it. And the reason is because of the fact that that's such a negative thing and it disbands everything he said. And it's because of his actions in the past. An interview from just a few months ago, I have to now then say everything he told us on that interview is null and void and I need to remove it. With John Gruden, it might have been from 10 years ago, but he was held at a high leadership standard. And he needs to know that that's what it was. And if this is going to be the excuse they use for it, unfortunately, that might be what it is because he has been losing. And that's just his Jenga set of life falling and not staying balanced.
Well, I think as a leader, he's doing the right thing, not from any perspective of guilt or not, but the fact that it's detracting from the team and his family and finally just saying, fuck it, I'm not going to deal with this shit in public.
Brett used his F word. I love it.
Yeah.
He never uses his F word.
There comes a time in anybody's life where when this stuff starts to come out in public and this stuff is maybe not really who you are, but you're continuing to fight ghosts, you're continuing to fight stories, you're continuing to fight other people's interpretations of something that happened years ago, or even yesterday for that matter. But when you start fighting those things in public and it starts to detract from the team, the company that you're working with, the family that you're trying to grow, sometimes it's just better to say, fuck it, and leave.
I agree.
Yesterday's as well now.
Yesterday's as well. He's used his. So, but like, I agree with you, Brett, but I also have to say, so what would be the statute of limitations on this? What is the time limit?
Well,
because
you tell me what the statute of limitations is on people making a change. Change can occur like that. How long it takes you to get to that change is undetermined. But you can make a change like that. All it takes is an event, something that makes you think, oh, wow, I didn't know that yesterday. Or, oh, wow, I realized that what I said really was not the most appropriate thing to say. I shouldn't have said that. Don't hold me accountable for the rest of my life because I said one thing in the heat of battle or two things. Now, those are the types of challenges that we have as leaders, for sure. You look at what's being said about Blue Origin, which is Jeff Bezos' space company. They're saying that that's a terrible place to work. There's tremendous pressure being put on them. And yet he comes out and says, well, it's those types of things that have made us the great company that we are. Now,
look at how Amazon is run. Amazon has been in the news for a few years now for being a company. There was rumors, and then apparently I've met people that have said it's true. They wouldn't even let people go to the bathroom. They gave them a Fitbit, stuff like that, to be able to be like, oh, yeah, we want you to be in your best shape, when the truth is that Fitbit had to be on them every day at work. And they were keeping track of how many steps and where they were.
No, believe me, that happens all the time.
It does, but that's the thing, is these are the things that come out, and then all of a sudden it's he's a tyrant, he's horrible to work for, and all these things. But that's what his companies have been known for. He demands the perfection out of you. And I'm not being weird. If I'm Jeff Bezos and I'm one of the richest two men in the world, and I have to turn around and I'm building a space program, yeah, we're going to have high standards, especially when Elon Musk's space program, SpaceX, is now light years ahead of us. Like, he's going to be upset like that, just like I would be.
Yeah, you have to recognize, there's a balance in life. We always talk about work-life balance. We talk about those types of things in leadership. Yep. We do need to consider work-life balance. And I think in today's world, it's even become more apparent, especially as we've gone into more of a virtual work for certain jobs. And to also recognize that that's going to create additional challenges, because now the people that are able to work at home, which tend to be your white collar people or that are behind the desk, are going to have a physical divide with the people that are doing the job on the floor.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And there's going to be a loss of connection unless it's very heavily focused upon because of that. And then you can start to generate these beliefs about certain things. Okay, you're sitting at home on an ivory tower and you're telling me this, and I'm on the floor sweating my butt off trying to move boxes and fill these trailers so that we can get the product out. Those types of things happened prior to COVID, but now there's this greater divide because there is a perception of elite, those that can still work from home, versus those that are working on the floor. So I think that, when we start talking about that, and then you start to get those, I've seen those types of comments in business where somebody is talking in the negative term about the guys that are on the floor, the guys and women, I should say, guys and gals that are on the floor, busting their ass in 90-degree weather, loading and unloading trucks, and calling them slow or stupid or whatever, because that's the job that they're in, and they're trying to deal with the environment that they're working
But
in.
that
I'm
shows
sitting in
people,
my home in an air conditioner with the TV on over here while I'm working on my computer here.
I understand 100% what you're saying. I would go back to people don't quit a job, they quit bad management.
That's what I wanted to say now. I believe that happy people work harder than sad people.
Look at
If
Richard Branson.
you are going to
Sorry.
treat your employees like crap, you are going to get crap production out of them. They're going to pitch up just because they have to and have to pay bills, but you're not going to get from them what you'll get from somebody that you motivate, not even on a money status, but on an emotional level.
So I want to change this because we are coming to the point where we're going to be getting into Scott and all that. But I think this brought up a lot of good topics, especially because there are different polar opposite views on this from leadership sides. And using a football coach's example was great because we were able to connect it back to even what we've got going on here, to what we have what's going on around the world, to how you want to have somebody be leading with, or your person that leads you. You want to know how they lead you for yourself. I do have a question though, Brett. What does a house wear when they go out for dinner?
I don't know.
I don't say.
A dress.
Oh,
I got you.
I'm running through so many things in my head, and I'm like, that does not make sense.
Why do melons have weddings?
What's wedding? Weddings? Oh, like a
Yeah,
marriage
why?
wedding.
Yeah. Why do melons have weddings? Because they can't elope.
Excuse me. Oh, that's funny.
One more. Why couldn't the bicycle stand? Why couldn't the bicycle stand up by itself? Oh my God. It was too tired.
Oh. That's some good. I haven't seen any dad jokes that I want to share. No funny ones this week.
But Brett, I think that after all of this conversation, we've had a good one, and we didn't agree on everything, and we were able to stay in the calm setting of good leadership, and that's what we're about here. Is even if you totally disagree with Brett, and you're like, he is in left field, in my opinion. Guess what? Some of our opinions were in left field to his eyes, and there's a lot of us, and it's not about just understanding your side. It's knowing your boundary, and when it's crossed, you say, okay, this is not something we're going to agree upon. Where this one is a leadership style that we're able to show what a coach is doing because of the problems and it coming out in the news and all this. Sorry, Scott, I just read your call. Awful. I look at what this coach did and how it has to be media because everybody has to know everything about everything, especially when it's the NFL, apparently. And it's not a good time for coaches to look bad. There's a few new coaches in the league this year that have some stuff going on that they're getting a really bad reputation. And they're losing the respect of their teams. And I think with Gruden, this was one where we're able to use this as a platform to talk about, to lead others to understand that no matter what, we can agree to disagree, but respect the viewpoints of others. And we don't know what was exactly in those emails, what was said before those emails, and what might have been said before that.
Even if those things are said in emails, I think that there also needs to be taken into the context of how does Gruden actually relate to those that he's leading?
I honestly, I can understand that because his team is losing, but it's not like he didn't have he has more respect from his team than certain other coaches who are new coaches that got in trouble last week for stuff that other people could see. His email could be something that to some people is very detrimental, but what another coach did by cheating on his wife and having it very publicly put in the media could be something that is viewed by others as way worse. And that's why we can agree to disagree on things, because there's people that are calling for other coaches' heads for stuff that some people are like, yeah, whatever, that's how those people are. And that's not If everybody has
you
the right.
take that into consideration when you're looking at what happened with Bill Clinton, and if you look at the same thing that happens over in France, they're like, who cares about that?
We all love the wee
Focus on
wee.
leading the country,
Wee.
not what they did with some, an affair.
That's just, but that's what I wanted to say now. We all have a past. We all have history. We all have said things. The only thing is we're not important enough for it to be in the media. So before we crucify, so what are you giggling about? Before we crucify someone that is in the public eye and you do not have all the facts, just remember that we have that same things. You have done the same things. It's just not being brought under the spotlight. And how would you react when somebody does that and takes anything that you said out of context? Because nobody knows what the context is. So do your research and then make an opinion from there. But don't badmouth and bring somebody down just because you feel that is how it works and they've made a mistake, because we've all made mistakes. There's nobody on this planet that has not done something that they are not proud of. All of us. Exactly. I can give you a list.
Absolutely.
I started your list last week. Don't worry. We'll talk about it after the show.
And you don't even know me and you know half the you know half the shit I did. You only know what I tell you. Just remember that.
I'm told how I'm this light and I make people smile and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, it's been one of those things. I've done so many things wrong in my life, and I've had to fall off the ugly tree so many times in life. I've hit every branch on the way down, and guess what? I still have to be able to get up. And that's the thing. You have to respect a person that gets back up, even if you disagree with their opinion. And that's the fight of human nature. Ilse, will you be would you be able to read our guest bio, and then we'll dive into, we'll have our oh my gosh, my brain just stopped. Sorry guys, I'm tired. But we'll read Scott's bio. We'll have a word from our sponsor and be back with Mr. Harris.
Awesome. We are interviewing our special guest, Scott Harris. Scott is a skydiver, veteran businessman, and motivational speaker. He uses his personal journey to create an exceptional storytelling experience for his audience. Scott can show others how to embrace challenge to perform at their highest level.
I love that. I love it. It's going to be a good interview. If you have anything you want to ask, from does he pack his own parachute, because that's going to be something I asked, to how many jumps has he done? Would he use a squirrel suit to jump? Can I jump with him? How do I get on his leadership team to be able to motivational speak with him? To what is his favorite kind of ice cream? All right.
Have you ever skydived? Have you ever skydived?
Oh, yeah, I've skydived. I wanted to.
Me too. It was a tandem jump. I did not jump by myself, but I did it.
That's how you start. You usually start with a tandem, or you have the rip line.
Yeah, I started without a parachute.
That's impressive.
He was also naked too. So it was a full. It was a full eclipse.
And then I woke up.
And then I woke up. I didn't wake up from that one. So all right, guys, we'll be back. I'm leaving that where you said it, Ilse. We'll be back after a word from these sponsors. Thank you, Brett, for being with us this morning, buddy. Love ya.
Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delay Cafe team and I have traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram, lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
And we're back. Mr. Harris, thank you, Scott, for joining us today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm great. It's fun to be here.
You were having fun in the background and all that. You were throwing comments in there. What is your favorite flower, sir?
I like exotic flowers for the most part, things that come from, if you go into any flower shop and you want exotics, there's usually a half dozen things to choose from. They're always bright colors and they make kind of an exotic mix.
I honestly agree with you.
I find roses to be a little passé.
Yeah, it's old
So last
school.
year.
so last decade. Like so Scott, first question out the back. Do you believe you could fly, or are you just falling with style skydiving? So
I can fly.
You can fly. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Teach me.
Well, I fly airplanes too, but flying your body in free fall is a real thing. You fly in free fall relative to the people that you're in free fall with. You can fly up, down, and all around. So it is the experience of flying.
I'm sorry. I've never gone back up, other than when I pulled the chute and it went, and I went up. So like,
if you're in free fall, you can go back up relative to the other people you're in free fall with. And
really?
That's the only thing that you're really looking at. The amount of the ground is just it's a time limiter. You know, as you're falling towards the ground, you have so much time in free fall before you have to open the parachute and stop your rapid descent. But when you're in free fall, you're flying relative to the other people in free fall with you, and you can go up, down, all around.
I did not know you could go back up. I've never done that. I've always done tandem. When I was in Las Vegas a couple months ago, I wanted to do I know it's in Arizona, but like I wanted to do the Grand Canyon skydive, where you jump out of a plane and you go through the Grand Canyon and land in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I just thought that's
with you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Elsa. What did you say?
I said I'm doing that when I get to America. I'm doing that. That will be my second time skydiving.
That would be an experience. To be honest, especially the first time you jump, it doesn't really matter where you do it. It's going to be this, the same overwhelming experience.
I have jumped
going to be great. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's cold. It doesn't matter what the surroundings are. It's going to be the same, thing that you'll never forget.
Right.
That's actually one of my questions that I wrote down. I wanted to know, when you jumped out of that plane the first time, what went through your mind? Because I was petrified. I have a fear of heights. It's not that I'm afraid of it. I just don't like it. So when I'm on top of a building, I will look over, but I won't stand on the edge because it freaks me out. So that was a big step for me, jumping out of that plane. What went through your mind when you jumped out the first time?
Oh, shit.
Yes. My first thought was a little different. It wasn't oh shit, it's please don't shit, because I did not want to go and then all of a sudden like
to be honest, Elsa, everybody has has different levels of fear of heights. That's a normal inbred reaction. That's your survival instinct. Everybody's uncomfortable standing up on the edge of a building and looking down. If you're not, something's broken. That you're supposed to be afraid of that. The fear of heights really doesn't have anything to do with flying or jumping out of an airplane. For most people who have a fear of heights, flying doesn't bother you, does it? Mm-mm. That's because when you're up in an airplane, even if you're riding in it or jumping out of it, there's nothing between you and the ground to give you any depth perception. It appears two-dimensional. It's like looking at a picture on a wall. And it's the same when you jump. There isn't any sense of being high and there is no feeling of falling. A fear, when you feel like you're falling, or if you're in an elevator that goes down fast, or on a roller coaster or something like that, it feels, your insides jump up inside your chest, because your insides jump up inside your chest. You're being forced to change your acceleration. mechanically. When you jump out of an airplane, the minute you jump out of the airplane, you're moving the same speed and direction the airplane is. And then over time, the direction changes to downward and you accelerate a little bit more. But it doesn't happen instantaneously. You don't feel that. All you feel is the pressure of the air. You feel like you're riding on a cushion of air. And you're not going past anything, so there's no sensation of velocity.
Why did you decide to jump out of a plane?
I was in the Army, and there was a sport parachute club on the base that I was in Korea, and my roommate did it, and they seemed to be having a good time, and I thought, well, that sounds like an interesting challenge. I think I'll try that. I did, and 45 years later, I've got 4,500 jumps, and I work part-time as the chief pilot of a parachute center. It's
Where?
It never left my blood.
Where are you a chief pilot of a parachute center? Like, what state are you in?
I'm in Oregon, just outside of Portland, Pacific Northwest Skydiving in Portland, Oregon.
I have to be honest, that sounds awesome. My CBD company, you saw my beautiful face on the commercial there. A lot of editing. We had to really slim me down because, but one of the guys I sponsor for UFC MMA fighting, he has my brand on his shorts. He's a skydiver, and I believe he just passed his 2,500 jump. I know we were talking about like really high numbers like that, and I know. Drew Dickerson, Dickerson. He's not sure. Big at the UFC yet, but like he makes these videos, and I was like, oh my gosh! Now that I know a pilot, I'm gonna have to connect you two because I think you guys would enjoy the hell out of that. You know, Stuart Lone Wolf asked one that I don't know the answer of, and I've never heard of. Have you ever attempted the magic carpet ride? One with a chute and one with a wingsuit.
I'm not sure what they're asking. I have not jumped a wingsuit. My favorite discipline in skydiving is four-way relative work. I used to compete in four-way, and it's still my favorite thing to do. A wingsuit it's a newer, discipline in skydiving, and it's very attractive. Several of my fellow pilot skydivers are doing wingsuiting, and I'm kind of interested in it, but not yet.
Do you pack your own parachute?
Yeah, well, I'm also a rigger, so I pack my own reserve as well.
Got it.
Everybody packs their own main. Everybody packs their own main.
Now, what if because I've only jumped twice. I'm nowhere near what you would be. I would obviously still be signing up as doing a tandem. Ilse would be, if she's jumping, would be going with me. Like doing a tandem
Cannot
as well.
Go with somebody that jumped more than you.
No, I want to be Ilse's one. She's going to be attached to my back, and I'm going to be the one. Wait, that means she's the one in charge. Never mind. But
now that I'm in charge, you want to change your mind.
Tandem instructors are very experienced people. I've done over 1,000 tandems myself, although I no longer do. I don't teach anymore, and I don't do tandems. I just jump for fun and fly a lot.
See, I actually think that's amazing, and I love that you did that. You do this. You also, if I'm correct, you have a book over Leap Over Any Obstacle. Is that correct?
Correct. Leap forward.
Leap forward over any obstacle. I wrote that down wrong on my cheat sheets, apparently. But tell us about that because it connects with you in so many different ways, and how you're leading.
Well, Leap Forward is a motivational book, and it's really directed at anybody, but it's particularly, we all face different challenges in life. As a young man, I didn't really know myself particularly well, just like all of us. And I joined the Army at the age of 17 during the tail end of the Vietnam War because I couldn't come up with anything better. I didn't feel like I was ready for college because I hated the school system. And, I got in the Army and I was still trying to figure things out. And I took up skydiving And it was such an immense challenge for me. It kind of lit up my whole life. And facing that challenge of overcoming my fear of skydiving and wanting to be better at it set the tone for the rest of my life. And I've since then approached every challenge I can find and sought out every challenge that interested me and embraced it with gusto. And it's really kind of set the tone for my whole life. And I think that lots of people have different feelings about, the challenges they face in life, both personal and professional. And I try to, through laying out some of my maybe odd experiences, try to show people a methodology for making this all joyful and not living in fear of what can go wrong when you have problems that you're facing, and instead embracing these problems and the challenges that you face and making that help you perform at the best that you can.
What is the one thing in your life that you did not expect to happen, but that changed your life for the better?
I had children.
That is such a beautiful answer.
The moment I held my firstborn daughter in my arms, I was fundamentally changed as a human being. The world became a much more wonderful place for me, and still is. It changed how I view everything and my place in the universe.
I can attest to that. The day my oldest daughter was born as well, I changed my whole life. Things happened, and I changed my whole life to be a better person for in their lives and be a better example in their lives. So I get that completely, and I love that answer. Let me just say that. That is such an amazing answer.
The funny thing is, my question you kind of just answered is I was going to say, what would you say your biggest challenges you overcome? And then Ilse's question was along those lines. So I was trying to rephrase it. And then you said children.
Okay. And before you carry on, I want to say something. The previous question I wrote down here was my question that you asked, and then I couldn't ask that question. So
okay, I got.
We have the same questions here today.
I got one. You mentioned odd experiences. What is an odd experience that you've lived through?
Well, about 26 years ago, I parachuted into Elizabeth Taylor's wedding to Michael Fortensky on Michael Jackson's Neverland estate to take pictures.
Wow, that is awesome.
Ilse, ask him for another.
I've been a paparazzi once in my life, but I'm the world's most famous paparazzi.
That is insane. Yes.
I've got such a boring life. I want to do that. I want to do things like that. Like just wedding crash.
What made you decide to do that? Like you skydove into Neverland. I'm amazed they didn't have a cannon shooting up at your parachute.
They had Israeli Mossad as security. I was actually working as a commercial photographer at the time, and a friend of mine who was with ABC called me 2 days before the wedding and said, "There's a news blackout. They're not letting anybody in to take pictures. Can you get in and take pictures? They're worth real money." And I proceeded to figure out how to put this all together in about 48 hours and ended up parachuting into the wedding through a ring of 21 helicopters, circling the estate, trying to take pictures from the helicopters with long cameras. The craziest thing about that whole story is that basically, because there was a news blackout, the only guy on the estate was one photographer from People magazine. the biggest picture that People published was me on the ground surrounded by the Mossad. And and everybody else's news story on television, radio, and newspaper and magazine was about everybody else trying to get in to take pictures, and I was front and center on that. So the biggest part of that story became about me, not about her dress or anything else to do with the wedding, because nobody had anything about the wedding, really.
Did you get into trouble?
I went to jail for a week. Apparently, the rights of Michael Jackson in that little hamlet are a little more important than everyone else's. It was kind of strange because I basically got the maximum penalty for trespassing, which is all I legally did. And I had no record of any kind before that. So everybody else in the media thought it was pretty strange. But I just kind of threw myself on the court. I just said, yeah, I was there. I trespassed, but I didn't hurt anybody.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for me. I needed to go there with a lawyer.
Like, for real, I was going to say, like, how much trouble did you get in? But, like, geez Louise, I can't believe you went to jail for a week. It's not like you created any problems. You skydived. My question was going to be, Ilse lost signal. But my question was going to be, how did you feel jumping out of a plane and going through those helicopters? Weren't you scared the wind of the helicopters were going to pull you in? Like,
it was scary. Yeah. It was. I'll always remember it. I mean, I had to squeeze. It wasn't a regular jump plane, so I had to squeeze out the door and get on the wheel. And I was standing on the wheel, looking down as we're passing over this circle of helicopters. And I looked down and I thought to myself, "What the hell have I gotten myself into now?" And then I laughed and backflipped off the wheel.
All right, I know you have another story, and you give me another one of something like that you've done. I'm sorry, you totally took me into left field there, and I did not see that coming. Like, no, I've not heard anybody go, "Oh yeah, I skydived, but I jumped through 11 helicopters, landed in Neverland." 21. Like 21 helicopters. 21. Like, I've heard the 21 gun salute, not the 21 helicopter go almost lose your head. Like, geez Louise. So, Scott, what other things have you done that are mind-blowing like that? I love people's, like, genuine stories that are crazy like that, where they experience life.
Well, there's actually a little story that still has to do with Liz Taylor that's really pretty fun. It's, I did a week in jail, and I had a $1,000 fine and 80 hours of community service. But for the community service part, I showed up at the YMCA, and they were going to have me do janitorial stuff. And I got there, and they had an old boiler in the corner that hadn't been used in years, and they were sending all their laundry out. And it was a pretty big financial burden on the YMCA. So I asked them if I could take a look at their boiler. I was a marine engineering officer in the Merchant Marine. So I worked on big boilers and big diesel engines a lot prior to this. So I went in there and I fixed the boiler in a couple hours, and I came out, and the guy was so thrilled. He signed me off for all 80 hours of community service. And he basically didn't think that I should be punished further for what I had done, that somebody's 8th wedding may not be all that special. I thought that was interesting karma.
Yes, that's a great point. And that's somebody that's really good because of the fact that they actually, I like how they phrase that, their 8th wedding. So how many kids do you have, Scott?
I have 4. I have 2 daughters from a previous marriage, and my wife now of 15 years had 2 little children when we got married, and they're now grown. They're all out of the house. We're empty nesters.
Wow.
That's awesome. So, Scott, what do you do other than skydive for fun? Like, what does Scott do to love Scott when there's nothing else to do?
There's always stuff to do. I basically have 5 jobs. I have a commercial property inspection business that has to do with my engineering background. I inspect commercial property largely for people who are buying it. And I just wrote a book about that, about commercial property maintenance as well. I'm a public speaker. I book myself to do motivational speaking, mostly for managers or leaders that have taken on new responsibilities and are feeling somewhat overwhelmed. That's kind of my niche. Although all of those principles apply to anybody facing any challenge. Challenge is the music of life to me. And if you can make it the music of your own life, you can enhance your life and live with far greater joy than the fear that most people have and trepidation of facing new challenges. And I don't mean to be on a soapbox over that, but I can. I'm very excited about it. I'm excited about everything I do.
I like
fly
that,
about 250, 300 hours a year hauling skydivers. That's me. Yeah.
I was going to say, I want you to dive into that, because how do you get the leader to get out of somebody? Because a lot of people don't see their leadership and they get stuck in themselves. And you're saying, hey, wait, where'd it go? I went by it. Bring out the leader in you. How do you tap into people to actually make them believe in themselves?
Well, you have to believe in yourself, but the first step, honestly, of taking on leadership is you have to recognize what it is, what a massive responsibility is. Being a leader of other people means you're responsible for them. You know, their successes or failures are your successes and failures. You have to accept that reality. And if you don't accept it, that's how you get these shitty leaders that just push people around and they don't, they have no empathy. The biggest tool that a leader has is not management skills. It's empathy. If you have empathy and respect for the people you are leading, you will be a successful leader. You will find that road to be a successful leader. But if you do not employ empathy and respect for the people that you're trying to lead, you will fail. You will not. That is absolutely forefront. And it's like most things, it's a step-by-step process. But that's the first thing. You have to accept the things, those are the tools that you need, and you have to accept the responsibility, because essentially you're responsible for what these people do. And on some level, you're responsible for their entire lives. People need certain things from their work, and it's not just money. People have to feel like they're respected, that they're valued for what they're doing. And if they're not, if people don't feel valued, they're not going to do a good job. And your job as a leader is to get all the other people around you to perform at their highest level. That's how you can, gain success as a leader. And so it's all motivational stuff. It really is. And it's daunting. The concept of being responsible for somebody's love life or their home life or their attitude about work is really daunting. And many people, when faced with that concept, bury their head in their sand. And that's a road to failure. The other thing about, being a successful leader is it is so empowering. It is absolutely one of the greatest things that will happen to you in your life, because if you're successful, you have impacted many other people's lives, and, for the better, because they're getting the things that they need. I mean, face it, you spend more time at work than any place else in your life. You better like it. If you don't like working, you're going to be just a miserable human being. So you have to have a good attitude about it. And if you're in charge, you have to teach these other people how to enjoy what they're doing, even if it's not great, I agree. You have the right attitude, or you're just going to be miserable.
And leadership, how do I phrase this? People that, if you have issues with your team, you should look inside yourself as the leader first, because usually they're replicating what the leader is doing, and you have to know what you're leading and how you're leading. And I've experienced that being in different leadership positions. And I think that a lot of people today are wanting to be leaders, but they don't want that responsibility of a leader. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. You have
Exactly.
you have to embrace the responsibility. You have to embrace the challenges.
Absolutely. And everybody is a leader. They have to lead me, myself, and I first.
Right.
And they also have to have, and this is what I think oftentimes leaders and people forget, is that you also have to have empathy for me, myself,
Yes.
and I. And oftentimes we look so critically at ourselves that it brings on a negativity of me, myself, and I, which then transitions over to those that we lead. And we tend to project what we are not seeing or empathetic in our life onto those that we're leading. And that's when leadership really falls apart in terms of a business or a team or even a social group that you're in.
Absolutely. You have to have empathy for, the situation that everyone else is in and what their feelings are about it. And if you don't have that, you've already lost the battle.
I agree. Oop, I'm muted. Nope, I'm not. I was like, why?
You're
So
not muted. No,
I'm not. I'm used to muting myself while I'm like I'm moving around your website and all that. So what has been a struggle for Scott that maybe got you to a point where you're like, I'm struggling. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And you had to keep going. And what kept you going?
Well, and when I was younger, I had a big accident. This was before the Liz Taylor thing. Yeah, it was while I was in college. I had a crash landing on a skydive, and I shattered my left femur, broke my right tibia, broke 3 ribs. I had a pretty massive concussion. I was pretty messed up. The doctors didn't think I'd walk normally again, and I was pretty busted up. They didn't want me to go back to school. They wanted me to kind of lay around at my parents' house. I think I was about 24, 25 years old. At the time, I was in the Great Lakes Maritime Academy studying to be a marine engineer. And I almost gave up. I really kind of felt like my life was completely derailed and I couldn't really move forward, and I felt trapped. I was trapped physically in a certain way. I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair, but I decided that I wasn't having any part of this. And I went back to my doctor and said, look, I got to go back to school. If I miss this term, I'm out for a year. I have to, start all over again. Right. And I don't want that. And he said, yeah, you can go back to school, but it's going to be pretty hard. I mean, you're in a wheelchair, and this is going to be this, you're going to be in a wheelchair for another couple of months, and then you're going to be on crutches. It's going to be hard to get around, and everything's going to be harder. And I said, well, I can do it. I'm going to do this. And I went back to school, and it was hard. Everything was hard. I had to get up at 4:00 in the morning to get ready to go to class and wheel myself to class or bum a ride from one of my buddies because I couldn't drive my car with one leg in a cast, the other one basically in pins and, plates and screws. But that's what I did. And I joined a gym that had a swimming pool, and I started going to, as soon as the cast came off one leg, I went in the pool every day and started and swam for physical therapy. There wasn't the advent of physical therapy or physical therapists all over the place then that there is now. And 3 months later, I was skydiving again. I just pushed and pushed and pushed, and I got back to where I was. I was swimming a mile every day. I was in some of the best shape of my life, actually. And I was skydiving again, and I felt better about myself then than at any other time in my life, because that accident taught me things that I needed. That accident was possibly the best thing that ever happened to me. I had just won previous to that accident, I just won the National Collegiate Skydiving Championships, and I was getting a little arrogant, and I was
Interesting.
becoming less kind to some of the people in my circle. And when I was in the hospital, it took a team of 5 people so I could take a crap. They had to lift me up and set me on a pan and then lift me up and wipe me. That was humiliating.
Yeah.
But I needed that lesson of humility at that point in my life, and it changed my whole life. I will never forget what it was like when it was a team effort for me to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it helped teach me respect for other people, and it helped imprint upon me my place in the world and how I need to view myself in the world that we populate with others. So that was a pretty big experience for me. It was a big, it was a big mountain to climb.
How old were
I went
you?
from
You said
being
you were
told I couldn't walk to being pretty normal. Well, as normal as I qualify for.
I get that, Scott. You and I can fit in that basket. The normal. Like, how old were you when this happened? You said in your 20s?
Yeah, I was about 24, I think. Yeah.
Like Scott, I have to ask, why did you? So many people could get in an accident like that and use that as their crutch for the rest of their life as an excuse. You knew you were more than that. What inside you had that fire? Why did you have that fire to keep going? As my face gets covered by the logo now.
Yeah, this
Looks
is
so much
well
better.
after my lessons in the Army and the lessons that I learned from taking up skydiving, that I really need challenge. The theme of my life is seeking out new challenges and overcoming them. And this was another challenge. This was at that time the greatest challenge of my life. But nevertheless, it became, something that I embraced, and I rose to that challenge.
I commend you. Just so you know. All right, guys, I know that you both have questions. I keep asking questions and not letting the rotation happen. I'll stop.
No, you won't.
No, I won't.
Trying to get Brandon to stop talking is really difficult. But I think that, one of the challenges that people have is in choosing the perception of an event that was traumatic in their life. So taking that event of that crash landing and turning it into what you were just saying, maybe the greatest thing that happened in your life, because it really opened your eyes to things that you may not have otherwise acknowledged had you continued along the path without having that event, brings you to this opportunity to now share that with others in a way that they can then look at life differently and take on leadership from a different perspective, I think.
Absolutely. And I figured that out pretty early on. I was still on my back when I realized this was something I needed. The whole everything happens for a reason thing, I believe it. I do. That happened to me. It was exactly what I needed at a time when I needed it most. Before I got too far in being, becoming this arrogant person, I got slapped down, and it made me reevaluate my values and who I am right at a time when it was pivotal.
I think that that's something that also people can use in different types of events that people oftentimes dwell upon in very negative fashion, like they had to file bankruptcy, like their marriage broke up, like those types of things are as traumatic, though they are not as physical. They're mentally traumatic. And that oftentimes people, instead of picking themselves up off the ground and going to the pool and working out to get back into shape, they dwell in that area and they continue to be caught in their quagmire as opposed to finding ways out.
That's interesting. You mentioned divorce. There's a chapter in my book, Leap Forward, about failure and how to face failure. And I use divorce as an example. I've been divorced, and it's a little strange on the surface because, well, I'm trying to talk to, managers, but divorce is something that everyone's been affected by. Half the people out there in the world have been divorced, and the other half of the people have been affected by it in some way. They have a parent or a friend or a loved one who's been divorced, and it is as traumatic as the death of a loved one, even more so in some ways. And it's something that everybody can relate to on some level and see how to face failure, because that's what it is. It's a failure. You've failed at something you tried to do. And accepting that you failed at something is really the first step in getting past it.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes in marriages, it may not be so much of a failure as not as successful as you initially envisioned it. And
well, that's a failure. I mean, if you try to do something and it doesn't work out, that's a failure. You experience failure in life throughout your life. You're not going to be a winner every time. You're going to lose. If you play a game, you're going to lose. If you are competing, you're going to lose sometimes. And guess what? Life is a competition. It is. Most of the time, I'm hugely competitive, but I'm only competing with me. I'm just trying to be better than I was. I don't go out trying to beat down anyone. And the attitude of trying to beat somebody else or push them down to get ahead is kind of horrible, really.
Yeah.
And it is counterproductive. But if you're trying to beat yourself, if you're trying to do better than you did, you'll rise to the top every single time. You'll get better at everything. And that's a better way of looking at it, but it's still a competition. Yeah. And if you try to compete, if you try to do something and you fail at it, you have to accept that. If you got married, you didn't get married to get divorced. You got married to be married. And if it doesn't work out and you have to get divorced because that's the best thing for you and for the other person, it's a failure. And you have to accept it as a failure. And avoiding that concept keeps you from healing. It keeps you from moving forward. It keeps you from moving on to your next best life.
I agree.
So I'm not trying to be, I guess I'm trying to be argumentative with you, Brett, because, saying
he's used to that.
It's always a failure. And you have to accept that. It doesn't mean you're bad because you failed. Everybody fails.
Correct.
You just have to get past it.
And I think that's interesting on this is Brian makes a good point. He says, you say failure like it's a bad thing, but he's not. He's actually saying it was used as fuel for a fire to keep burning and going. And it's like divorce was just something. Because I know my divorce.
Thing, it's just a thing. It's life. You're going to fail. If you don't, the only people who don't fail are people who don't do anything. If you sit on the sidelines and don't do anything in life, you'll never fail. You'll never have that pain. But you will never really be alive, will you? Because you don't do anything. Everybody who tries at anything eventually is going to have some failures. And that'll just teach you how to do better. It's a learning experience.
Yes, 100%. I agree with you on that one. I fail often and fail forwards. So, have you ever heard the Steve Harvey jumping out of an airplane inspirational speech?
No, I haven't. That would be. I'll have to look that up.
I'll send it to you, Scott. I will send it to you because after I send the show, I download this and we put it on Apple, Google, all of that. Apple, we have 1 million people downloading us. It feels like lately because it's been picking up so fast. But the Steve Harvey one fascinates me because he talks about how in life you have to be willing to like skydive, and he elaborates on that to being like you have to trust that the parachute's packed, you have to do this and all these things, and then he says and then you're in the air and all the butterflies and you're like, oh shit, am I doing the right thing, am I in the right place, oh crap, what's gonna happen, and then you jump And it's that moment of free fall that you actually experience freedom. And I think that a lot of people misinterpret failure because they don't realize that's that plane ride going up. That's that push that's going to keep you going. And then it's your choice when you jump out of that plane to really feel that fly, or are you just tumbling to the ground and you're like, ah, and you're just waiting to hit. You have to know that you have a parachute, you have an emergency chute, and you are in control. And that's something that when he broke it down, first time I heard it, it's like a 5 to 10 minute video. I literally was like meditating, and it was the song I was listening to, or the YouTube I was listening to for my meditation. And you talk about skydiving so freely, but I guarantee most of our listening audience has never done skydiving. And you talk about how your book, I want to pull up so everybody knows your website, Leap Forward Over Any Obstacle. Tell me a little bit about some challenges you had in this book and why this is one that people should be reading and go get.
Well, yeah, I feel like I want to tell anybody who wants to maybe learn from me that you don't have to jump out of an airplane to profit from my perspective. But one of the things that I'm trying to explain is a lot of the things that I learned from skydiving, or I learned from playing polo, or I learned from being hurt. You don't have to do any of those things to benefit from my experience. You get to be smarter than me and, kind of piggyback on those experiences. But when you jump out of an airplane, you have to, like anything else, you prepare for it. You know that your chute is packed. You've tested it. You've checked the rig. When you're riding up in the airplane, you think about, what you're going to do on the skydive, and you practice visualization techniques. But when you reach the point where you put your foot in the door and you're going out that door, you're no longer thinking about that. You're not and you are absolutely, your mind is absolutely clear. You are living in the here and now. When your foot leaves the door of that airplane, you're in that moment. You are not thinking about your bills at home, or your job, or your shitty boss, or any of your other problems. They no longer exist. In this, it's funny because you mentioned meditation. My father practiced transcendental meditation all his life. And he and I reached the identical philosophies of life through rather radically different methods, mine through skydiving and him through transcendental meditation. And what my perception is that many people can achieve this focus, the kind of focus that meditation gives you and teaches you through performance. Great athletes have absolute focus. They are living, they are absolutely, completely able to focus all of their resources on whatever they are doing. And that's what meditation is trying to teach you, the ability to focus all of your internal resources at anything you choose to focus them on. You can do this through performance as well. If you can clear your mind of everything else and completely focus what you have on any particular problem, you can overcome things that will blow your mind. Everyone has much greater abilities than they know they have. If you can focus all of your resources on any particular problem, like a gun, you can accomplish great things. And that's kind of what I'm trying to, show people in my book, Leap Forward, is how I found this. And if you practice this and apply focus on even little problems, you get better at it. Like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And if you can really focus on, just a simple thing like cleaning your kitchen, if you can really focus on that, you can learn to focus on big problems. And just by doing it, by everything you do, if you're really focused on what you're doing, you'll just get better and better at it until your abilities will become greatly enhanced. Can you tell I go off on this stuff.
Yeah,
I really
the only thing I would maybe interject there is that you want to focus on doing things better, because a lot of people focus on doing things wrong and they continue to do the wrong thing over and over again, and they do that same thing, which keeps them from moving forward. So we do need to focus on improvement and taking the time to find better ways of doing things, because oftentimes you do the wrong thing over and over again, and you just continue to do that better too.
Well, I guess what I'm talking about focus is learning, like in meditation, learning to be able to focus all your attention on something. I don't mean obsessing about things. And I talk about that a little bit in my book too, that's obsessing about anything is counterproductive. You need balance in life. So the better you learn to control your focus, the more you can learn to turn it on and off. So you can engage with the whole world and not be completely OCD and only think about work or whatever it is that you're focusing on. That's a mistake, because you lose control of yourself. And
that was the key thing I think you said, is to control your focus. And that's where I think a lot of people fail, if you want to consider it.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't control their focus. They just go wherever their focus happens to be. And if you're driving a car and you're focusing on the wall next to you, you're going to eventually hit that wall.
Right.
But if you're focusing on the path ahead, you're going to keep going in the path ahead.
Wow, silence for a second.
I muted myself so I wouldn't interrupt Brett. I'm talking my questions out without anybody hearing me. So, Scott, you have done some pretty cool things. You have kids that are grown. You've been married and divorced. We had the fun conversation of divorce and the stress that brings. What is something that I want to phrase this right, because I was literally asking the question with nobody here, muted, trying to make sure I asked it right. But like, what is something that you wish others would see in themselves that it took you a while to see in yourself? So I love the idea of the failure. You talked about that, but like looking inside ourselves is difficult. And you are a man who's jumped out of a plane so many times that I think my entire viewing audience with everybody other friends has never jumped even near that amount. And you have these stories that inspire, but you didn't just come from nowhere. Scott Harris wasn't born 5 days ago. He wasn't born yesterday. How hard has it been for you? And like when people have to look inside themselves, what is your recommendation that they start with? How do they start by looking deep inside themselves to get the best out of them so they're willing to take that leap of life?
Well, it's a leap of faith. A leap forward is a leap of faith. It's having faith, and it's a leap of faith in yourself. And that's the toughest leap of all. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have an innate belief that you're a good, you're worthy of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Because you are. We're all worthy of having love and success. And it's actually a responsibility. We all have a responsibility to have better lives and greater success, because every one of us, the more success we have, the better the whole world is around us. The better you are, the more you do enhances the lives of all the people around you. That's our responsibility as human beings, is to make ourselves better. We're here for one reason, and one reason only, is to improve ourselves. Life is a never-ending journey of self-improvement. If I learn nothing else from my parents, that's what I learned. You can never be completely satisfied with who you are and what you are doing. You have to constantly want to be better. And that's okay.
Favorite author? Go. Well, I'm going to do rapid fire questions. You ready, Scott? This is where we get into the rapid fire part of the show. All right. Favorite author?
Robert Heinlein.
All right. Book everybody should read.
Pardon me?
What's a book everybody should read? I'll help you with that. Leap
Stranger
Forward.
in a Strange Land.
I don't know that one. Stranger in a Strange Land. What is that? Who is that?
That's Robert Heinlein.
I'm writing that down. I don't know that one. Even if I have to listen to it in over audiobook, it counts. Stranger in a Strange Land.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
To Kill a Mockingbird, particularly since it's now banned all over the place.
Yeah, I read that the other day. I was like, what the F? So, favorite movie?
Animal House.
There you
Oh
go.
my God, I didn't see that coming.
Animal House is very interesting because there's something happening every second. If you turn away for a second, you miss something.
True, very true. What were you like as a student in school?
Horrible.
Why?
I could already read when I got to school, so school bored me, and all I did was sit there and read novels until I didn't enjoy school till I went to college after the Army. The parochial school system completely failed me. There was no place in it for me. And I'm sure it fails a lot of people.
It failed me. They told me I was I'm ADHD. The joke in my team is I'm the H in ADHD. The squirrel joke, you saw us all look around. Right. I could be in the middle of asking you a question about how great you feel being a bald guy like me, and in the middle of it be like, oh, you have a great beard. Like I'm ADD and a half. So know that
I suspect we have a bit in common there, Brandon.
Just a little bit. Favorite sport other than skydiving? Polo.
I'm a national champion polo player.
What the F? Like, I don't even know what to say after that. You're a national champion polo player. Yes. I love that. What got you into polo?
It was kind of a joke. There was a polo club that started up near where I was living, and I thought, my ex-wife rode horses, and I thought, well, I'll take some lessons just to say I played polo, because it just seemed outrageous to me. 3 months later, I owned 2 horses.
Is that you in that picture then?
That's me.
I thought that was just a stock photo.
And no, that's me. That photograph was actually taken by my daughter with all 4 hooves off the ground. And if you look closely, you can see the ball is passing me. It looks like I'm looking at the camera, but I'm actually following the ball with my eyes.
Oh my gosh,
it's past me.
It's right by the horse's mouth.
Right
here.
Yeah. That's one picture in a million.
That is phenomenal. Okay. I thought you were going to say football because of the conversation we were having earlier, and you were having fun in the back.
I like football, but just to watch. I don't play.
What's your football team? Cleveland Browns. I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a few I like. I like watching the Seahawks, but they're not having a good year.
They're having a rough year. If you could go anywhere in the world that you haven't been, where would you go?
I would actually really like to visit Russia.
Really?
Yeah, I've been all over the world. I worked in Egypt for a year, reorganizing the water treatment plants there. So I've traveled a lot as a merchant seaman and as an engineer. So there's not a lot of places I haven't been, but Russia there's an interesting history there.
I have to ask really quick, where is a place everybody should go that you've been?
Tahiti.
Really? I actually love Tahiti. I agree with you.
Unparalleled beauty. And I must admit, I really like going places where I feel that I have no need for shoes.
Yes, I agree with you on that 100%. I try to never wear shoes, but when you walk into certain meetings as a business person, they look at you with like great despair. So, Scott, we are coming to the end of our show, and you have done nothing but provide a positive energy, a spark for everybody for the day. You got up early being in Oregon. I thank you for being with us, but the way we end every single show is we speak positive vibes out to the world. So that could be something as simple as, hey guys, go out there and hold a door for someone today and don't expect a thank you. To, hey guys, roll the toilet paper under the sink, under the public restroom so they have enough on their side too. Something random. But you will see how it's done. I'm going to have Brett go first, and if Ilse's internet holds up, she'll go second. and then I'll go third, and then you're ending the show for us to give everybody that push of delight through their day. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome. I got to do one thing really quick. Brian, I did 110 push-ups on air yesterday because my Browns lost by 5 points. So I bet my fans, the audience, that if the Browns win, I will do 22 push-ups for every point difference of win or loss. And if they lost, I have to do 22 push-ups. Lost by 510 push-ups. If the Browns would have won by 5, everybody would have had to done 110 push-ups. And that's why I was so hoping everybody else was going to have to do them. But I had to do them. My team lost. So, Brett, take us out, my friend, and tell us your positive thing for the day.
Well, I think in line with what we were talking about, fail forward. And one of the best ways to help yourself to overcome challenges or failures is to regain your grounding. So take an opportunity when you have challenges to be able to get out and put your feet in the sand, as Scott was talking about. Go to a place where you can actually touch the ground, whether that be in the sand, the grass, whatever. Regain your connection with Mother Earth and balance your frequencies. That will help you to fail forward. That will also help you to bring successes into perspectives that you can then leverage in the future. That's my tip for today. You're muted.
I know. I found out. I missed the whole show. I'm so sorry. My internet is on Monday holiday. So I'm going to make this quick and short before I get cut off again. You guys, this was an amazing interview. The part that I was part of and the part that I watched, I'm going to watch the whole video. I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. And then today's card, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It says take responsibility. And it says, for better or worse, you are responsible for everything in your past and future. Don't blame your parents, your teachers, or your boss. Take it on yourself. I think this is very important with the conversation that we had before our interview started with we all have mistakes and we shouldn't crucify people for their mistakes. Take accountability on your past and then just move on from there. You guys are amazing. And I hope you heard me. Love you lots. Bye.
But so much of me wants to just tell her, what'd you say, Ilse? But I don't want to make her freak out in any way, so don't worry. So today has been a wonderful morning. If you did not get a chance to be a part of the show today, guess what, guys? It's on YouTube. It's going to be on Spotify in the next 20 minutes, and it's on Amazon. It's everywhere you can find it. Take the time today to just go back, give a listen, and see where you connect with Scott, whether that's wanting to go skydiving or maybe you've just been through hell in life at times and you're needing help getting over where failure has happened. Today is your day to look deep inside, fall in love with yourself, and change your fucking world. I waited till the last 3 minutes. Woohoo! I made it. So, Scott, you get one F word. Everybody does. So that's why I did that. And last but not least, Brian, it was on yesterday's show. I'll be more than happy to post a link in the comments. But yeah, guys, make sure you dive in, get the best out of yourself. That's what we're here for, to change the light inside ourselves and get that spark to change the world for the better. Thank you, guys.
It's been really fun to talk with all these people. If you want to get anything from me, let's start with remembering that at some level, your life is about you. Remember that. Go out today and find even some tiny small way to be better at something than you were yesterday. Be a better human, be a kinder person, be better at your job, sharpen a pencil better, and celebrate that you've improved. Celebrate it every day. Celebrate your life every day of your life. Enjoy every day of your life, It's a process. It's a journey. Enjoy the whole thing. Don't spend any time remunerating about things you don't like. Either fix the things you don't like or change your attitude about the things you don't like. Have a great life.
Well said. Thank you, Scott. You are welcome back anytime to the Light Cafe. I'll email you after the show your links for everything for you to be able to share on your social media and all that.
Fabulous.
And absolutely, you are welcome back anytime. Thank you, Scott. Guys, remember, go love, give appreciation, and change the world, even if it's just by doing something little for yourself. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks. This was fun.